Was I dreaming?
How do you feel?
Oh, like I've been run over by a truck. But I'm all right, I guess.
Glad to hear it. You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Wait a second, I'm just a tourist. I came here for a vacation. I just got here. I don't know what happened. I'd like to find out myself. Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month. Short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
Where is everybody?
I'd tell you if I knew, believe me. But from what I can tell, something bizarre's going on.
Good evening, and welcome to the Pleasure Dome, known as 60-Second Retro Gamer.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
I am indeed, in
Or
disguise.
It could just be Xanadu by Rush.
Yeah, who knows?
It also references the Pleasure Dome,
Oh.
which is in I think it's a Coleridge poem
Ah,
about Kubla Khan.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
never knew that.
That's where the Pleasure Dome comes from. Nothing to do with being gay.
No, nothing at all.
Yeah,
I
carry
am...
Well, it could do these days, actually.
yeah, you never know. I mean,
But originally,
yes. I am Anthony Tremaine. Talking also about the Pleasure Dome is Simon Pryor.
hello.
And stroking his eyes is Mr. Hatton.
Hello, sailor. I'm just messing. I'm not really.
No. Saying hello to a sailor?
Yeah.
There's one
Yes.
in here.
It's the poem Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
Oh, oh, that's a name and a half. Good grief.
I know I did it. I studied it at university, so.
There you go. We are talking today about the rather somewhat dated looking Silent Hill. Which,
Or for those who don't understand, Anthony, Silent Hill.
Silent
yes,
Hill.
in English.
In English.
Not in,
English.
in Antonish. Which is my
You know
own-
they can't see you do that.
I know, my own official. I need like an audio description. The
Well,
retard
there
puts
is-
his hands.
There is the picture. Every time people see your face on the review, it is you doing that
Yeah, there you go.
gesture.
I just did the look. Watch one of the reviews, and namely this one, if you're listening to this one, and you'll see the face that I just pulled.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
YouTube.com/randomstoked.
Yes, but you should have already watched that. if
Yeah,
you're
but it's
listening to
in the
this.
comments of the podcast anyway, so
Yeah.
it's you've got no excuse.
Excuse me. But yes, it was made in 1999. I'm trying to read that from a distance. It's quite
It
difficult.
was released in '99. Yeah.
Yes. Was it over
That's
here?
quite. It was released over here in August '99.
No, there you go.
But that's quite a way into the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, that's almost towards the end of its
Yeah.
cycle, to be honest, because
Given how.
Metal Gear Solid 2 was 2001. That was only like a year or so after that.
Yeah.
I think it was because... Oh, hey up.
You're very gassy today.
I am.
Ant.
That's because I've had a lot of Dr. Pop. I think the PS2 was sort of in development
Yeah.
at the time. It was like
Where's Cheryl?
where's my daughter? Yes, you play as Harry, as I've probably said in the review, who is involved in a rather nasty car crash, and your daughter is missing when you awaken, and you find that the weather has turned to mist, and ash is fluttering down to the ground, much like snow. And you wander along for a bit, and he comes across the rather deserted town of Silent Hill, of which he then discovers, of course, it is inhabited by monsters, which look rather dated and silly in its
Yeah.
graphics now, but I'll get onto that in
Well,
a moment.
It's the PS1 era,
Yeah.
though, isn't it? It all
And,
looks a bit.
Yeah, well, not all of it, but as I said in the review, some games have stood up quite well against the test of time, and this game unfortunately just sort of lay down and it run over it. several times to make sure. But I don't know. It's surprising. It looks naff. It still plays rather well, although it does feel like a cheap man's Resident Evil sometimes.
I think a lot of people would prefer this over Resident Evil, actually.
Yeah, because I mean,
this is more psychological horror.
yeah. Whereas Resident
Whereas
Evil was just
Resident-
in your face, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this actually
I
has
can't aim my gun.
no. This one has half decent actors in it as well. Whereas Resident Evil, they just really didn't bother. I don't think they just pulled someone off the street and went, "Yeah, can you read this for us?"
And they whisper back.
No, but they did it anyway. For probably a minimal fee. But it really, I mean, it does play with your mind in places. I mean, when he picks up the radio, as I mentioned in the review, it's quite clever. Every time a monster's nearby, it gives off static, and sometimes the monsters won't even pop out at you. You'll just run along and it'll thinking, "Oh shit,
Make
where
you
is it?"
think, oh.
Yeah, and then it will just sort of fade away again because perhaps the monster hasn't spotted you. But there are some times where it won't be quite that courteous and they'll fuck out of the shadows. The fog / terrible draw distance.
Yeah.
Which gets very annoying over time, I found, because instead of going, oh god, I can't see where I'm going, it eventually comes to the point where you go, oh, for the love of God, where am I going? I have no idea where I am.
Frequently checking your map.
Yeah, which gets a little bit annoying after a while because you're sort of
Yeah.
toing and froing.
Well, it
between
also
the two.
blends together, doesn't it? It's like, well, if the draw distance was a bit further along, then I may be able to see where I'm going.
And you wouldn't need to check the map as much. And I mean, it's a bit lazy the way that they sort of ended the town as well, just saying, yeah, the road has just dropped away. It's like, oh, okay. Whereas, I mean,
I'm in this little area here then.
yeah.
Why am I going this way?
I mean, it's ironic. The film actually made more of a point and made a little bit more sense of the fact the roads had dropped away than the game did.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat ironic. Surely
They
it should be the
probably
other way around.
realised it was a bit of a
Maybe,
plot hole.
yeah. But it's just lazy development. I think-
Another Sean Bean starring vehicle.
Yes, with an American accent. not
6
good.
degrees of Sean Bean.
Yeah, he wasn't in it.
All of
in
our
the film
podcasting
very
somewhere or another
much.
are
Refer
related
back to Sean Bean.
within 6 steps,
yeah, but
like Kevin Bacon.
quite. But it's. I mean, the puzzles are good. There are some very inventive puzzles on show. Although there was the one with the piano that me and Rich, having a musical knowledge, thought a little too deeply into, and we're trying to work out the notes on the piano, thinking it had something to do with it. It turned out it was nothing to do with that at
Yeah.
all. It was something quite simple. So we actually made that puzzle a lot harder for ourselves, and we needed to. But it's all part of the fun. You know,
Yeah.
as you're thinking, I mean, when you get to, I mean, it's quite good as well when the air raid siren goes off. Although, as much as I hate those sounds, it actually puts the fear of God into me. Those sounds do. It makes me. When I was playing,
Doesn't tell
it
you
again,
much though, does it?
no, but I mean, these actually
Let's be
legitimately
honest.
make me sit there and feel a little bit frightened. I don't know why. It's just like I am a little bit ill as well. Weirdly enough, like, I was playing it there and I actually felt a little bit sick. It's really. I couldn't even tell you where that phobia's come from. It's just one of those. So God help us if the Cold War ever starts up again and we need the air raid sirens. Because I'd be shitting myself.
You'd be stuffed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be more frightened of the air raid sirens than the nuclear
Yeah.
missiles, to be honest. But every time an air raid siren goes off, the world goes a bit darker, and just suddenly, and all hell, literally, like the monsters that are around and about during the day become the least of your worries.
Yeah.
Because there's some weird and wonderful things that pop out when it goes dark.
Dead babies!
Yeah, it's not particularly pleasant.
Sort of.
That sort of look like they're giving you a blowjob when they're attacking you,
Yeah.
which is a bit weird. But there's also things like when the alarm goes off again, it sort of like turns into the other world, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's like this dirty industrial metal place, and like normal floors become like grated floors that you walk across. Walls just turn into like bloody mess.
Yeah.
And it essentially just looks like an industrial factory in a way. It's really strange. But that's sort of where the draw distance comes into play quite nicely, because it's supposed to be dark, and like, the lighting effects add to it quite nicely as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's full of atmosphere. I'll give it
Yeah,
that.
it's just when you're like, and the music adds to it as well, because there's not much in the way of music like Resident Evil was.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like atmospheric noises in a way.
Yeah.
But there's I mean, you play through it, but the only time the draw distance really works, like I say, at night.
Yeah.
When when the air raid siren goes off, because it's supposed to be dark and it works with the lighting. But when you're outside in the fog, it just pisses you off to no end. Because I remember playing a bit of the second one, and the draw distance. Well, the fog wasn't a draw distance; it was fog.
Yeah.
You could still see quite a way ahead of you, but it was, it looked like it was just in the mist. But this was just like, we can't be bothered to program too fast. Shove the fog on, no one will give a shit. But we do, unfortunately. And the monsters don't look that frightening during the day because they look dated. And like much do the graphics as well, unfortunately. I mean, it's like surprising it came out around about the same time as I know I always hark back to it, but it is sort of like the milestone, the milestone of the PlayStation era. That game looked incredible and still looks incredible, but you play Silent Hill now and it came out the same year and it's like, oh, you really didn't put that, or maybe they didn't have much of a budget. I don't know.
That's where the draw distance thing comes in again. That's the sort of game they developed. They obviously had limited resources at their disposal, so they thought, well, if we reduce the draw distance, make it like this foggy town, it builds up the atmosphere and.
But that's the thing, it only builds it up so far, though. It's just the thing, and then to the point where it becomes annoying. Yes?
I think, just to keep harking on about it, I think that they had developed the game, but the PlayStation was technically limited. So they had the game as it was,
about right,
and it was running on like a powerful PC or whatever.
It wouldn't work
when
on
it came to the PlayStation, they couldn't get it to work, so they were forced to have this fogging effect on the world.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I think that's true.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were forced into it by the lack of power on the PlayStation.
Which is a shitter because it could have, if it didn't have that on it, it could have been a much better. I mean, it still is a really good game. Don't get me wrong.
It's not technically their fault.
No, but it's still technically wise. It just, I mean, even the graphics themselves, apart from the draw distance, don't look very good.
When they did actually do a reimagining of the game called
Shattered Memories, I think, wasn't it?
Which was out released on December 2009 for the Wii and January 2010 for the PS2.
Oh.
Rather randomly, and the PSP.
Oh.
I don't know why it was released on the PS2 though. I mean, it's graphically compatible with the Wii, so it was that level of scale. So maybe the development didn't justify a HD version.
I mean, I don't know. But, I mean, apparently Shattered Memories isn't very good from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I did look into it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll get that version as well for the PSP, and apparently it doesn't play very well or something. I can't remember. Something was criticised massively on it, and it's just generally not a very good reimagining, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Silent Hill. I mean, every sequel spamming game's got to start somewhere, isn't it? So,
yeah. Well, this.
I mean, Resident Evil games have got better over time, and so Silent Hill games have got slightly better.
Well, I think Resident Evil 5 was maybe a bit of a step back.
Yeah.
I wasn't keen on that.
I mean, Silent Hill games apparently have drooped somewhat in quality as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, every game goes up and down, but that's just through tearing the game through.
We've got ourselves a franchise,
Yeah.
boys.
Let's tie it to the back of a car and drag it along the street till there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is what they tend to do
Yeah.
with most franchises these days. They grope every bit of money they can out of it. But
They do.
it's not bad. I mean, like I say, the puzzles make up for it, and it does feel like a cheap man's Resident Evil. But like Rich said, a lot of people probably prefer to play this than the first Resident Evil game, maybe.
Yeah.
But it has a lot more atmosphere than Resi, but it's just a lot of stuff that bugbears. I mean, no, okay, maybe it wasn't their fault about the.
Well, the only thing I
distance.
can really raise that I wasn't too keen on was the camera angles. I mean, I know it's very cinematic, but initially it takes me a bit of time to get used to that sort of thing.
Saying that, it's not always forced.
No, it is mostly third person, but I to be honest,
A lot of games did that on the PS1 though. I mean, you got like Resi did it now and again. You got Silent Hill, Dino Crisis, Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, to be honest though, I mean, it wasn't really. It wasn't too forced. I mean,
the bits where you sort of like roaming around, they're not really forced. But when you're going down like the alleyway at the start, for example,
that was a bit. But I mean, that was quite clever camera work as well. Where it sort of like panned round and followed you and twisted a bit. Yeah. Which they then quite cleverly and quite accurately recreated in the film as well, which was a nice little touch. but a nice little stambush, as I should call it. But it was it's good. It's not the most technically incredible, groundbreaking game on the PlayStation, but it still plays quite nicely.
Yeah, as long as you can still play it, then that's the key thing.
I mean, like I
isn't
say,
it?
the best bits of it are when it goes dark and the game really does sort of sprout to life then.
Yeah.
But when it's during the day, it sort of dampens itself a little bit. But,
Mm.
oh well, they've got to start somewhere. haven't
Hey
they? So,
ho!
yeah, I mean, Resident Evil wasn't exactly incredible. But
No.
It was.
It
getting
did the
there.
trick.
Yeah, it started it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Anything else you want to raise, or are we all good?
You must have had one.
No, I'm quite happy with
As
with
is.
Angry Birds.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth giving a go. I mean, it's another one on my list of games to buy eventually,
Yeah.
but I've got that many in the cupboard to play. I mean, I had to buy a new cupboard for all my retro
Which
games.
says a lot, really, doesn't
So
it?
yeah, but I'll play it eventually and give it a go and go.
You can probably pick it up for dirt, like pittance. I think I
Yeah.
paid next to nothing for it. So.
Pretty much. I'll see what happens. So, yeah, you can get in touch with us by email if you want to contact us. It's info@randomstoke.com. Don't forget, we've also got videos of each of these podcasts at youtube.com/randomstoked, or you can also see them at randomstoke.com. And we've also got various other projects that are in the pipeline that may or may not be on the website by the time this one goes out, but we'll see what happens. So thank you for listening if you have been, and we will see you next time. Goodbye for now.